Before we begin, just obviously little brief disclaimers. We're a regulated environment, so we got to throw these up here. We don't provide any type of tax advice. We do not. We're not attorneys. We're not accounting advice. Majority or decent amount of this information was helped prepared by the Allianz Insurance Company. We're not affiliated. We're not representatives of them, but we do have to give them credit for some of the slides that are here. A little bit about CIG, what we do. For those of you who don't know, although looking around the room, I think most of you do, we're a wealth management and financial planning firm. We were started actually in 1997 by Osman Minkara, and we've since grown to the stature that we are now. We focus in on wealth management and financial planning for our clients. And quite frankly, what does that mean to you? That means we look out at all facets of your management. So we're going to be today talking a little bit about Social Security, which is one piece. But again, that's one piece to the overall puzzle to say how can we make sure that we grow, protect, and then ultimately look to transfer or your wealth, and how do we continue to move from there. Talk a little bit about Medicare. Okay, as I alluded to earlier, not a lot of people realize that Medicare is also part of that Social Security umbrella. Okay. And what it says is regardless of your retirement age, and when they say retirement, that's retirement based off the Social Security age, Medicare benefits start at age 65, okay? You're eligible at the first day of the month you turn 65, and if you're currently receiving Social Security benefits, it's easy, you don't need to do anything. You're automatically enrolled, and you just have to pick some choices that we're gonna talk about coming up to see how do you wanna structure your Medicare plans. If you're not receiving Social Security benefits, so if you're currently working or just delayed receiving the benefits, what they say is to try to apply for apply to Medicare 3 months prior to your 65th birthday. Processing time, whatnot. If you do not, you could be paying potentially some higher premiums, even on your own personal insurances versus your employers, because generally Medicare will be deemed primary, and then your employer's insurance will be deemed secondary, which will help fill in some of the gaps. So something to think about as we start getting closer to that magic 65 age. We need to look at what do we do from a Medicare standpoint. Also, if you have questions and if you're still currently working and getting close to 65, talk to your HR department or whoever handles your health benefits. They'll be versed on how does it specifically work with your individual employer's plan, because again, everything's a little bit different depending on that plan. Now, Medicare is really 4 main parts, okay? Part A is generally covers hospital coverages, limited skill, nursing home care, hospital care. These premiums are generally free, but there are deductibles, there are copays associated with that, okay? Medicare Part B is physician services, generally covering to go see the doc on a one-on-one basis, and other ancillary services associated with that, so testing, labs, that type of fun stuff. Keep in mind, does not cover long-term care coverage. It's one of the little misnomers. There is some basic long-term care coverage, generally about 100 days. After that, everybody in essence is on their own from a Medicare standpoint. They will cover nursing home care if you become Medicaid eligible, but that's a whole different topic for a different day. And you got to spend on assets and everything else in order to get there. So keep that in mind when we're talking about Medicare. Part C is Medicare Advantage plans. Medicare Advantage plans are kind of managed care plans, fee-for-service plans. Think of those as kind of I use the analogy, they're kind of like your traditional employer plans, where they have coverages like vision, health and wellness, some other ancillary coverages that come into play. And you have some choices on what type of plan you want to go ahead and choose. And then finally, Part D of Medicare is your drug coverages. So that drug coverage helps offset some of the costs for prescription drugs across the board. So as we start walking closer into retirement, we have to make a decision and say, what type of coverage is best for me in my situation? Do I want to look at original Medicare, or do I want to look at Medicare Advantage plans? And again, Medicare Advantage plans are kind of similar to those HMOs and PPOs that most people are accustomed to, because that's kind of what they've dealt with all their working careers. And the way it works is really your original Medicare is kind of made up of Part A, Part B, or your Medicare Advantage plan is Part C, which is usually a combo of A, B, and D. So again, there's going to be kind of some alphabet soup here coming out here in a minute as we get into this presentation a little bit deeper. But Then you need to decide, do we need drug coverages? Okay, most people arguably saying as you get older, usually there's some sort of prescription drugs that happen to be coming out that you would be required. A lot of times this is almost a no-brainer, we're gonna need it. The question is though, is to what extent, okay? Then Medicare's got Medigap coverages. So I always use the analogy of the original Medicare as kind of looking like, think of a block of Swiss cheese, okay? You have Medicare is that cheese, right? But there's a bunch of holes in it, if we look at it kind of on a cross-section standpoint. And you got Part A, Part B, Part D is a big hole, which is your drug coverages. You got all these little holes in there. So you got vision, you got health and wellness, you got everything else. Medigap helps fill those little holes. And this is kind of, another analogy, this is kind of your a la carte, right? So you're at a nice steakhouse, it's an a la carte menu. Do you want green beans? Do you want a potato? Do you want this? Do you want that? Everybody's different. Or you can choose to say, you know what, nope, I just want my piece of meat, and that's what I want. Medicare Advantage plans, again, there is no Medigap because it already kind of includes some of these ancillary. Question that may come up that says, okay, Marty, I initially chose this one, but I want this one. What do I do? Well, every 12 months during an open enrollment, you can flip-flop between the two. Okay, so it's not necessarily I chose one and oh my gosh, I picked the wrong one, I'm in trouble for the rest of my life. They do allow you that flexibility to do that. But again, this is where it becomes a very personal question on what's your health look like. You know, everybody in this room and in this country has different health statuses, and there might be some pre-existing conditions that might warrant it makes more sense to go one way versus going the other way. From there. With that being said, we're going to kind of conclude the rest of the presentation. What I recommend for everybody here, if there's additional questions, let's sit down and talk. As I said, the best thing and the first thing I'm going to tell you to do, if we're going to talk specifically Social Security, go onto the Social Security website, print out your most recent benefits, make sure to either fax those to me or get them to me beforehand so I can run some analysis. So we're not playing what if, we're going to play specific to your situation, and if we can have these conversations to see what makes the most sense. Again, as we do our planning for our clients, this is something that we do kind of as an integral part of what makes sense, how does it make sense, and are we going to continue to work, or are we going to take it early from there?
Securities offered through CIG Securities, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services available through CIG Asset Management, a SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance services provided by CIG Risk Management. All are wholly owned subsidiaries of CIG Capital Advisors.